Blessings, 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 Facebook and YouTube. God bless you. And God bless you, Instagram. Yes, this is 40 Marriages That Must Not Hold. I am Apostle Hellena Horsley, and we have been in this series since I believe February. And we are now on our marriage number 34 out of 40. So tonight, we're going to go through the prescription marriage. The prescription marriage. Now we've had some very interesting, um, very interesting marriage types, as what we said and what we have read. But I do want you to know that this is based upon a book written by Dr. D.K. Olukoya from Nigeria. And if there was any kind of things that would help anyone who is considering marriage, to help you think, because again, the title is 40 Marriages That Must Not Hold. These are things that you will think about prior to making a decision to say, I do. Now, if you are already in a marriage and you are listening to many of the things that have been brought up, if you are in one and you have heard these marriages. God bless you, cousin Paula. You have heard these, like the Red Cross marriage, the fast food marriage, um, the dog marriage. We've had a lot of interesting titles, but these things are topics that you can think about. And if you were one that have experienced these things or these issues that come out of these particular types of marriages that have been presented to us in this teaching, then you can really bear witness to this, and you can take these things a little more personal than others because you have some experiences that you can equate to, listen to in this marriage topic, as well as even having some solutions to help other people if you are still in the marriage. Okay. One of the interesting factors that we have seen is that the idea of most people believing that when you are married, that that person is not your family. But when you are married, you are choosing that person to become your family. Not like you're born with a sibling, particular siblings or aunties and uncles. These are things that happen by blood, by your blood relatives, or even adopted relatives, or even foster relatives. These are things that happen, or even you have marriages with stepchildren. Stepchildren mean that one of the parents had children prior to the marriage. And so the siblings that have been joined together as siblings, they're now stepchildren because they are not, neither one of the mother or father are theirs in by blood. They just got married, and these children, and we have to distinguish these things. We distinguish these things because many do not understand that you have stepped because they stepped into your family. And if you read out insurance payouts, sick leave, sick time for your jobs, you look at these categories and it'll begin to tell you about certain placements that you can take leave for. Okay. So that's why it's important, for even though many people, we have a lot of love and we just accept anybody and we just say, that's my children, and we don't like to distinguish, but there is a distinction between what is what. If you have a half sibling, that means one of the parents is your birth or your biological parent, but the other one is not. Now the children, God bless you, daughter. Now the children may they are siblings. They are. However, there is one of the parents are not the sibling. So you have mother and your father, but one of the parents is not your actual biological parent. God bless you, daughter. And so even with a foster, okay, when there is a foster care system and people have foster children, well, that's even a particular dynamic because they are fostering or overseeing the child's life until they don't want to do it anymore or until the person becomes older. So a person that is in a child foster care type system, they may have multiple people who foster them. They may have 10 foster mothers, 10 foster fathers, and how many siblings would they have? Okay, that's a foster. When you have an adopted person, adoptees, these people become your siblings as if your parents actually had them, meaning the law allows them to take on the child as if it is their very own, which means all legalities, every right that their other children have, these children now have the very same when they are adopted. Now, we're living in a time where many people are using so many things and making many family dynamics. They're trying to make it to be the same. But God has a family in mind, the way He created it from the very beginning. It is one man with one woman, and they have children. Okay. And that's the original design by God. One man, one woman, their children that come from them. That is God's original design. Now, that is a goal for many people, but we know in the time in which we live, that does not appear to be as practical as people would like for it to be because we have so many dysfunctions in our families and there are so many different combination of types and there's so much going on. We have to learn how to love and just understand just the family dynamics and continue to live out the life as it is, as you have it. So there are so many dynamics to families. And in these dynamics, there are so many variations and there are also lots of problems and lots of confusion. A lot of times you may have children that are they're half siblings or even sometimes they're step. I don't know. But many a times when they're a half sibling and they have the same mother and they have the same mother but different fathers, a lot of times those children that have the same mothers within the household, they bond a lot different than those that have, and they're if they're living with their mom, they bond a lot different than those who have siblings that maybe their father has had prior to the marriage, and these are your half siblings. The family dynamics are very different. A lot of times you have those that are outside of the marriage and you have a lot of sibling rivalry. You already have sibling rivalry dynamics, but many a times when people are not raised like the other siblings that have the father in the house, you have a lot of siblings who get angry because they're not living in that dynamic of the mother, father, and children. And so these are where a lot of the problems come in. And these are where a lot of the rivalries come in because you have the mom, inputting things into each one of the children. You have the mother on this over here inputting things in her that child. You have this marriage. It's a lot of dynamics. The main thing is this is something that you really have to work out because it's not going to go away. It's not going to change. And each child has to know how important they really are. And you have a purpose in life. You have a purpose that God has given you. And it's up to, if you're a small child, it's up to the parents to help to pull you into the direction that you are born to go into. And we hope that every parent is praying for their children. And even there, again, the dynamic I didn't leave out is a lot of times the grandmothers are taking care of the children. The mothers or the fathers are not even in the picture at the time. Maybe things are happening with them, but then the grandparents are left taking care of the children. But you always want to make sure that you speak well of the parents, even if they're not within their presence. You want to speak well of their parents, even if it's the grandparents raising the grandchildren. You want to speak well of them because you're going to help frame their mind. You're going to help that grandparent is helping to frame the mind, or if it's an auntie taking care of the nieces and nephews as if it's their child. Well, you still have to speak positive to their children because people poison kids. If they're angry at their sibling and they're raising the children that of the sibling that they're angry with, they poison kids. And one thing for certain, every child wants to bond with their parents. Every child, no matter the circumstances, no matter what has happened in life, every child wants to know who their mother is. That's a place that nobody can actually take. Every child has a right. So if someone was poisoned with hatred, bitterness inside, put that inside of a child whose mother or father is not in their presence, we are creating little monsters. We're creating, and I'm saying that because you're putting hate inside of a child. And then when you put hate inside of a child about their parents, then they also not only have the same hate, but they're going to internalize that. They're going to hate themselves too. Because if you're hating your mother and your father, and then you're looking at yourself, well, you're going to end up really internalizing many things and you're going to hate yourself. This is why if you are over children, please, please, mom, dad, whoever is raising your children, please do your best to not talk about the parents in a negative way. Always try to let them see the light, something that is greater, something that is better, because you're bringing confusion in them. A child that does not have their mother and father will most of the time feel abandonment issues. They're going to always question many things about their life. There's always going to be a if, a shoulda, woulda, coulda. And there's so many dynamics to a family. So you don't want to speak negative about their parent, because if you do, you're really hurting yourself and you're really hurting that child. So let's help with the dynamics by speaking positive rather than staying in the negative with things, even if the situations are bad. Because you have to remember, the scripture talks about you must honor your mother and father all the days of you have to honor your mother and father, that that your days may be well, that you would be well, and that you would have long life upon the earth. You want your days, the days of your life, to be well, and you want to be able to live long upon the earth. But if you, as a parent or an overseer who is raising up the children, and you speak evil of their parents because of whatever circumstances may be at the time, remember, you're training them to rebel. Because if they still have to honor their parents, you're teaching them not to honor their parents. And you're teaching them rebellion and hatred. And then you're breaking people's souls, and breaking not only their soul, you're breaking the soul of the grandchildren that will be born. You're breaking the soul of, and then listen, everybody wants to know, where did I come from? Everyone wants to know, where did I come from? Who's my mother? Who's my father? And how come they didn't love me? When they're not in your life, you and they're alive and they're around. You want to know, why didn't they accept me? So you have to continue to speak positive about the mom and about the dad, even if you don't like them. You have to love them. God bless you. God bless you, JC 1857. You got to still bless them, and you still have to show them love. So we don't want to poison the generations to come. We want to be as much of a healer as we can, and as much of a family bondsman, meaning to bind people together in love as much as we can. Because remember, it's not for the moment that you're affecting, but you are planting seeds for the future of that child and their children and their children's children. So you are affecting people in more ways than what you realize. And then you can help ruin a generation because of the evil spewing that you're placing in people's souls. And that's mind, will, emotions, intellect. Okay. So we want to do what we can to help correct any situations that we're seeing right now, to bless people and their families, and to pray for one another, because there are things in families and family dynamics that many times only prayer can help, because that's a spiritual thing, and God will work situations out. Hey, daughter, God will work situations out around them, so that they will have to meet together, and that they will also have to communicate. Okay. But you don't want to put hatred in the hearts of the children and the children's children, because remember, you still want to have a house of love, an atmosphere of love, and everybody has a sense of belonging. Because like I said, many people want to grow up and they want to find their parents. God bless you, Carolyn. They want to find their parents. They want to see what's going on. That's why you have things like Ancestry, Ancestry.com. You have the 23andMe. You have Family Search. You have so many search engines that are available where people are trying to find their families. So if people are yet trying to find their families, you don't want to be guilty of trying to be a destroyer of the family. Okay. And if you participated in that, where they're being absent, whatever it was that caused a distrust within the family, there is yet still a way to make things right from here, from where you go. You just make amends and you live. You just keep living. Okay? Because you cannot go to the past. You cannot correct things that were done in the past, but you can move forward from here. And this is how you want to be able to help the blended families, the mixed families, because remember, you have to consider all of this. If you're not married now, and if you are at a particular age, say you're 30 and above, 40 and above, for the most part, somebody's going to have children. And you being around them that has children, maybe they do not, I don't know. But if you're looking at the ages 40 and up, somebody's going to have a child already, generally speaking. And you have to figure out, how is this going to work with you being a person coming in to the life of that family? Again, when we are getting married, you're choosing that person to be your family member. You're choosing them by marriage, okay? You're choosing them. You're making a covenant with this person, and you're bringing them into your family abode. So there are a lot of things that must be considered when it relates to children's children, how you speak about their mother, how you speak about their father. And remember, whatever you sow, you're going to reap. If you sow to the spirit, you're going to reap the things of the spirit. You sow to the flesh, you reap the things of the flesh. You're going to get things back. And a lot of times it may not be something that you would have wanted in your own life, meaning it's going to be negative. So you have to remember, as you start bonding and as you start considering marriage, a lot of people are going to have children. And is this what you wanted? Some people don't want to have someone who has children already. They'd rather be with somebody who does not have children at all. That way they don't have to worry about the mothers or the fathers of these children, unless maybe, they're not in the picture for whatever reason. But a lot of times people don't even want to have that as part of the dynamics of their family. I looked at a video, and this lady, she was one that was teaching on the trophy wives, the life of a trophy wife. So she had her whole YouTube page about the life of a trophy wife. Well, later on, she makes her video, and it talks about her marrying a monster. She married a monster because it comes to find out that this man violated all their children. This was their father, and he violated his own children in a deviant way. Okay. So is it enough to just, we talked last week, is beauty enough? Is beauty enough? Is looks enough? You really have to know you, and you really have to be in prayer, especially in this time of deception, because people are wearing masks like never before. They don't want to reveal who they are. And a lot of times you will not see that till much later. Tonight's marriage is on the prescription marriage. This is marriage number 34. 40 marriages that must not hold. The prescription marriage is when you get married based on prescription with words like, she will be good for you, or he will be good for you. Just because somebody, oh, you saw the story, Allison, you saw it. Wasn't that sad? I'm glad you saw it. Wasn't that horrible? I mean, we see a lot of things on the internet, and sometimes we wonder if it's the truth, because people are making up things as they go, right? It was so sad. It was so sad. Hey, Felicia, it was really sad. But he, all her children, damaged them. And she called herself a trophy wife. You never know what you're getting. So just because somebody's saying, this one will be good for you, this one will be good for you, that's not enough. Okay? That is not enough. You look it up. It's, I married a monster. That's what the lady's saying. She's light skinned, have long hair, but you see all her other videos before, and she was always happy, always. But this one, she's sitting on the ground. It's like she's been dethroned because she's sitting on the floor, and she's giving this story, and she's really speaking about what happened in her home. She didn't expect this. Okay, so you never know what you're getting, but you really hope that you're getting somebody that is healthy or that wants to work on themselves, okay? They are actively working on themselves. We are constantly working on ourselves. This is why I told my daughter, women are always working on themselves, okay? We have friends, we're going to meetings, we're looking for things, better ways to improve ourselves. We're many a times, we're always, and we communicate more, I would say, but we're always looking at ways to improve ourselves. We're taking classes. We are going to counseling sessions. A lot of people are going into more therapy in church, which is mostly females. Most churches are full of females, and we hope that the men would be able to understand the dynamics of a church setting. But a lot of people don't. But they have the barbershops, or they have the community corner, or they have somewhere where they go play dominoes. They have their buddies. They're going to watch football, or they're going to watch basketball. Men have to communicate one with another as well. But a lot of times it's like trash talk, or if they're in the barbershop, they may get into some very serious topics. Okay. But women, most of the time, we are trying to see how we can please our husband, or, we improve ourselves. We're always trying to work on ourselves, right? And you have to remember, God told the man he needed to help me. He didn't tell the wife that. He didn't tell the female that. He told the man that. Okay. So because you know that you're going to help somebody, I believe this is why the dynamics of a female are very, usually you're very protected in your household. So you're if you had a brother, he can go play outside all day long. All day. But the girls had to come in the house earlier than the boys. Or if the parents weren't trying to make a difference, they'll tell them to both come in at the same time. But it seems like the boys got to do a little bit more than the girls did, right? Because they were trying to make sure that you were, you know, kept a certain way. And you had to dress a certain way. You couldn't just be out there looking wild, and you had to be modest in your clothes. When I was growing up, my grandfather didn't even want girls walking around the house with shorts on, let alone the men or my uncles. You could not walk around the house with a t-shirt on. You better have a full shirt on with a collar, and you better have some pants on. You can't walk around with pajamas. You can't do that. You better be dressed when you get up. And mind you, my grandparents, it was a revolving door. People came, we had families coming in, a lot of families that my grandparents always made sure everybody had a place to stay. Okay. But everybody knew, number one, the men you're not going to sleep all day. You're going to get up and you start cleaning up. Everybody got to do something. Okay. But he was not going to allow you to walk around the house with a t-shirt on. If you're a man, you better put on some clothes. I loved my grandfather. He was like that. And all the men had to learn how to work under a car. You better learn how to change your tire. You better learn how to check the oil. Be under the hood with him in the morning, because he's gonna show you how to change spark plugs, carburetor, where you need to put water at. He's gonna show you where you need to put oil in. Okay, now we got a lot of these electrical cars, but it was all hands on, man's man, and this is what he did. You're gonna learn how to change a tire. You're gonna be out there working with granddaddy, because you're not gonna be up here laying up all day. The women, you're gonna be in there cleaning up that house. Everybody do the bathroom, front room, kitchen. Everybody was inside cleaning something. So, like I said, my grandparents' house, it was fun though. It's fun. There's a lot of people in the house. So we had all our cousins, and our we just had a lot of fun. Siblings, cousins, everybody's in one big house, always noisy, but we had a lot of fun. But my grandfather had rules, and the girls could not just do what the boys were doing. Okay, the girls couldn't just be out there like the boys were. My grandfather did not allow that at all. My own dad didn't even want us spending the night over anybody's house. I mean, he had a fit. We don't spend a night over people's houses. So, even though he allowed us every now and then, my mom would let us, but he would not let us be at everybody's house. So you have to really think about, people's families, dynamics, and being protected, because remember, you are the helpmeet. The females are the helpmeet to the man. So you're the prize. You are a prize, and you're going to help him do whatever it is he needs to have in his life, whatever that is that God has molded you for, to be able to help your husband. You are the prize, because he that finds a wife finds favor with the Lord, obtains favor with the Lord. He obtains favor with the Lord. And it's so much so that if a man mistreats his wife, his prayers are hindered. Think about that. So women are kept a particular way to live a life, a particular way to be a woman of peace, be a woman of virtue, valor and virtue, and to be able to guide her home, right? So a lot of times in these dynamics of the family, everybody will know each other. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a neighborhood. I grew up in Wilmington, California, and in our neighborhood, um, this is the 70s, the 80s. Okay, they're all 70s and the 80s. Everybody knew each other's family. This was a real community. You walk down one street, you got family on that street, you got family all down the street. Right? Okay. Yeah, you got family all down the street. Everybody knew somebody. Everybody knew whose house you were at. So it was not one block that nobody did not know each other. We grew up in a very small community, a very tight community. A lot of things happened within that community, a lot of secrets in the community, a lot of stuff going on in the community. But it was a very small community, but everybody knew each other and everybody looked out for each other's family. That's just how it was. Okay. So we want to make sure that understanding these things, people know you enough and they start making referrals. Okay. Now that's the world of your community. Many a times people are in church and the mothers or the fathers, they'll start looking for people to put together. Okay. They'll say, oh, she'll be good for him or he'll be good for her. And, you have a lot of these dynamics because families know families and they want to put people together. Okay. But like I said, you still don't know. You still don't know these people. You really got to be in prayer, ask for discernment, and you really have to take the time to court. Now, I know that's not a terminology that a lot of people use in these days, but it is important to take time to know one another. My cousin calls it meetings. He's going to have a meeting with this young lady. He's taking her out to eat for a meeting. Okay. So he's getting ready to meet a person to see if he's interested in the person, if he's going to continue to the next meeting. So there's things that he has set up for him to learn about the person in the meeting. He doesn't even call it a date. It's a meeting. Okay. In agreement. Hi, Linda. Good to see you, Miss Linda. But yeah, so in our community, everybody knew each other. Everybody knew Miss Linda's here, and she was one who helped to change. She helped my mom, with us, her children. She lived down the street. Okay. And so she changed my diaper. This is one who knew us. Okay. So everybody knows people in the community. Now, with that being said, you have a lot of people who always want to refer someone to you. Oh, this won't be good for her. Are they married? Are they, you think about all that. So again, in the church, even in the church dynamics, they'll see how many people are in the congregation and how many singles do we have in here. Lord, we need these people to get married, right? We need people to be married. Most of the time I'm sure you want your pastors to be married, right? You don't need somebody being there and everybody's got their eye on the pastor. You got a whole lot of problems inside of the church because the pastor is single and all these girls keep showing up to church just because they want to be the bride. Some people will they'll follow the person just because they see him and somebody referred them. They'll move from a whole nother state coming into a congregation just so they can try to be the pastor's wife. It's important for the men, the pastors, to be married. Please be married and be committed. All right. We assume commitment in the church. That's just, it shouldn't be no other way. We assume that. Okay. Not taking anything less. We just assume that. Tonight, again, this is about the prescription marriage. So when you get married based on prescription with words like she'll be good to you, good for you, or he'll be good for you, it says such a marriage may not be approved by God. I mean, no, you need to get God's approval for everything. I remember when I first started this series, and boy, you should have seen the ones who were contacting me or making comments. They were so upset. You don't have to ask God. God don't show you who your mate is. God don't. You have to be in agreement. In all your ways, acknowledge God, and He will direct your path. Okay? If you study the Word of God and you see how they were finding their brides, you see how, when say Abraham wanted to have a wife for his son, he made sure that someone went out and got a wife for his son. Okay? So there has to be an agreement. There has to be something done. You have to know the person. You have to know what's going on. You have to be able to take time to court, take time to date. And if the red flags start coming up, if the red flags start hitting you, okay, it's gonna be. I'm gonna go somewhere in these scriptures. Okay, it's going to be very interesting. You have to pay attention to the red flags. Somebody say you got to pay attention to the red flags. There's just some red flags you got to be paying attention to, because when somebody starts referring you, it's good to have referrals. Somebody thinking, okay, they would be a good, okay, well, I would like to meet them. You kind of think, okay, I would like to meet. I don't mind not meeting them. I want to meet them. Okay. Okay. So you have to think about the scriptures, because we talk about in the last days. Okay. In the last days, perilous times shall come, because men shall be lovers of themselves, right? Heady, high-minded. You got to think about all these situations. There are ones that the Father tells you to come away from. He tells you to come away from a fool. The fool is going to wear you out. Did you say abort? Okay. A fool is going to wear you out, and you don't want to marry a fool. Okay. It also talks about the angry man. Don't come around the angry man. All right. But 2 Timothy 3:1, I want you to look at these, because the Bible tells you about a brawler. Stay away from a brawler. Okay. Somebody's contentious. They're very a person of strife. You don't want to be somebody that sows discord. You don't want to be with people like that. You don't want to be with messy drama people. Not if you're a saint of God. Now, if you like the drama, this is not for you. But for people who want peace and you're trying to get to know somebody, these things it's going to be very critical. These are the last days. Troubled times are going to come. It's going to come because men are lovers of their own selves. They're covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection. This is come on. We're actually talking about 2 Timothy chapter 3. False accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. Oh, that right there. When you are despised because you're good, now you know that's going to be a problem. Okay? Think about that. So it's like these things you don't want. You don't want these kind of things. You do not want to have it. So you have to pay attention to the red flags. All right? High-minded, traitors, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. They don't even like to pray. So when you see, okay, that's what you said. So when you see red flags, abort immediately. So get away, cut it off, right? Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. The Bible says, from such turn away. So you don't want somebody that the Bible is telling you to turn away from. These are the last days. So you have those who despise those that are good. Sometimes people have come into your family. Hey, cousin April, good to see you. Some people come into your families just because they may have admired your family from afar. They may have admired your family, and they just want to come in your family just because they admired your family from afar, and they just can't wait to get into your family. Again, when you live in these small communities, a lot of people like to, blend into the families and so forth. And when you're a family that have restrictions, we say no, they really want to get into your family. But in 2 Timothy, again, you got to really pay attention, because these are the last days. Look, when you have a man or you have a female that only love themselves, like I said in the beginning, men, according to the scriptures, men want reverence. They want respect. Okay. According to the scriptures, they have to learn how to love their wives. A woman doesn't have to learn to love their husband. They already have it. Generally speaking, Unless it's like the dynamics that I've spoken about before, when people begin to speak evil of people's parents, okay, when a child is being raised, they're a single family home, and the single parent that's raising their child starts speaking bad against the child's father or against the child's mother, right? Or if it is an auntie that's raising the child, or whatever, if they're speaking poison into the child, now you're dumping things inside of the child's mind that they're going to have to work out. Okay. And so also, if you're teaching them to dishonor their mother and their father, okay, it's going to bring problems in their life, because it says that it may be well with you and that you have long life on the earth. So if you're teaching a child and they receive this information, you know, they're going to be learning how to dishonor their own parents, and they're going to make their life bad choices. They won't see these that are lovers of themselves as lovers of themselves. They'll see, oh, this is somebody who really likes to look good. This is somebody who wants to drive nice cars. Or they got nice business. They got all these things happening for their life. They're in school. They do what I like to do. Okay, you may have the same interests, but do you have the same love? Do you have the same ideal for family? Do you have the same? You see, 'cause if you bond because of that one part, lovers of themselves. See, if you, because today we're looking at people say you gotta have self-love, self-love, self-care, self-love, self-care. And it's really showing people selfishness. We're not talking about somebody that's abusing their own time and they need a break. They need a break. Okay. They've been run over. They're so busy and they haven't had time for themselves. We're not talking about that kind of person. We're talking about somebody who makes themselves their own priority before anybody. I mean, just that's their priority. They don't care how you feel. They don't care. If they're married, they don't care about how their spouse feels. They don't care how their children feel. They only care about themselves. That's it. They don't care about nobody but themselves. Okay. When they're lovers of their own selves, it's all about them. They're only going to bring you in the picture if it's something that they want. Oh, bless you, Dion. If it's something that they want, something that you can do for them. And a lot of these things you hear, a lot of the times, when men come into the lives of many females, it's like, what do you want? What is it that you want? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What is it what do you want? Because when they are involved or interested in situations, they want something. What is it that you want? And you wish that people would be honest. Okay. But if they're covetous, like the scripture says, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous. What is it you want? What is it that you want? Why are you coming to me? Out of all the people, why did you choose me? What do I have that you want? Okay. Boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection. They don't even have natural affection. Truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, people who are prideful, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. Okay? Get away from them. These are red flags. Get away from somebody that's angry, having temper tantrums, and they're adults. Get away from them. You already see it in them. Don't say, oh, they just got a problem today. No, this is how, yeah, please be honest. No, this is them. Listen, this is who they are, and they show you early. They show you early time and time again. Now, if anybody is paying attention to this Diddy trial, if you go back, I went and shared some videos. Like, these are flags that people should have seen a long time ago. This man was on the phone and he was like, I'm a savage. He was just, okay, savage is a beast. Savage is a beast. A beast. Yelling he was a savage, and he was supposed to be happy, but he was breaking stuff, breaking things all over because he was happy. Imagine what he's going to do if he's mad. What is he gonna do when he's mad? If he's acting like this when he's happy, he throwing things around and breaking everything because he got a deal on the phone. Well, how is he gonna act when he's mad? Okay. And if you see what's happening in the court case right now, woo, the court cases right now with him, they're going to bloggers, trying to find bloggers to not talk about them or to change the directive of the narratives that are happening. It's so well, I mean, manipulated. It is manipulated in such a way. It's if you're paying attention to what's happening, because remember, they're not giving him bail. He's trying to run the court. He's running the jails. He's running the inmates, calling family members, calling witnesses through other inmates' phone calls. Listen, there's a lot happening, and all the phone calls are being recorded. Do you know jail records calls? And if they sneak a phone in there, those things are confiscated. You have people that are inside that's going to be informants. They're going to tell on you, even though he's paying them well, but they know this is something they could come up on. Listen, I don't care how they look. I don't care none of that matters at this point when you're dealing with somebody that is covetous, when you're dealing with somebody that's high-minded, when you're dealing with somebody that have lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. I mean, he says, from such turn away. He says, because their folly is going to be made manifest unto all men. Whatever they're doing, people are going to find out what it is. Okay? You're going to know what it is. So if you have that red flag in the beginning and it's like something's not right, then sit back. Don't be quick to make some decisions. Sit back and wait. Because their folly is going to be made manifest unto all men. Just sit back and wait. Don't rush into things. Because a lot of times they want to rush into stuff. They want to make stuff happen so quick. Take your time. Take your time. So if people have referrals, people set people up. People set people up. I'm going to say it again. People set people up to be with other people. And sometimes it's good referrals. Sometimes they're vindictive ones. Okay. What Malcolm X used to say, if you want to take down a person, you would send a particular type. You want to take down a strong man, you would send a particular type of female to the man. We see that when it came to Samson. Okay. Delilah was hired. She was hired to take Samson out of here. She was hired for that, to get him captive. They just wanted to know his secret. So sometimes they'll send people to you for your secrets so they can take you down. That's what we're seeing in like Hollywood and everything. You're seeing all that right now. Okay. So that happens in anything that is political, and anything where power is, anything where power sits and the pressures there, in anything, because they want to, it's about competition, and they want to get you out of the way, or they want to subdue you where you're not going to be the competition anymore. So some things may not be good for you. Such a marriage where somebody said, oh, this one is good for you, or that one is good for you, it may not be good for you. Yeah, that's the question. Who sent you? Really, who sent you? And if you have a relationship with God, right, you ask him, Father, who is that? Lord, I know this is what they're saying, but show me who that is. I need to know who they are, and are they for me? Because the Lord will let you know. Okay? Okay. All right. So 1 Samuel 16:7 says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Okay? So again, somebody may refer, but it may not be God's one for you. And this is how a lot of people end up in all these all these issues, all these relationships, all these, and it's like, wow, you wish you had if you had known what you know now, you know, if you had have known what you know now, you would not have done what you did. But at the same time, you have to say, but I know that all things work out together for my good, because if you learned the lesson, it was a lesson. You learned it. And whatever it was you had to walk out, you're going to learn the lesson. What was the lesson? Because sometimes if you begin to say, I wish I never knew you, wish I never, and if you have children, do you know that spirit will start attacking your children as if you're becoming invisible, and you'll be wiping out your own children out of your life because you're saying those things? I wish I had never knew you. I didn't want to have this. I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to, you start wiping your children out of your life. You got to be careful with that. It's very deep, and I can go deeper into a subject and I could really teach on that, but think about this. Don't look at the countenance. Don't look at how tall he is. Don't look. See, Samuel was going to anoint the one that got appointed. And Samuel was looking at at all of Jesse's children. And he said, oh, this one must be it. He's tall in stature. This one got to be it. A lot of times that's how you see the person. Oh, that one's got to be her, or that one's got to be him, because they got my look. They got this. And Lord said, that's not the one. That's not the one. So you want to know that you know that you know that you know that God approves it. See, God to give you what you listen. When you start asking the Lord, remember we're talking about God the Father who knows everything. Everything. And you're asking the Lord for a husband or a wife that of his approval. See, there's a permissive will and there is a um, divine will. You want what he permits, or you want what he has purpose, his real purpose in your life. Okay. And a lot of times we go too quick because you feel lonely, because your clock is ticking, you're seeing other people, especially during these times of holidays that are coming up. You're thinking about that's where you start seeing all the shows, all the family shows, the family Christmas shows, and all the shows that show couples, happy couples, families. I mean, you'll start getting a certain kind of way, and you need to ask God, like, Lord, I would like to be married. I just don't know to who. I have no idea who or what, but Father, I know that you have the perfect one for me. Perfection. You have one for me. You have one that you made for me before the foundation of the world. I just don't know who they are. But Lord, you do. So send them my way, and let me be able to identify who they are. Just send them my way. Let me know who they are so that I don't miss, and let them know who I am so that they don't miss. And you just going on about your day. You leave that there. You just leave it there. And listen, the Lord knows. He heard you. He knows it. And you're just going about your day. And before you know it, the Lord will put somebody around you. He'll he'll put it before your face, but you're asking him. And then when you start feeling that kind of ways, you start seeing people, you start feeling that kind of way, you say, Lord, I need to, Lord, I know that you heard me before. But Lord, I'm going to ask, Lord, just send me the one that you want me to have in my life, because I don't want to make a decision, especially if you were married before. If you were married before and that marriage was bad, were you ever married? Oh, were you ever? Is that a question? Where were you ever married? Is that a question for me? Because I'm married 33 years. Okay. So you got to think about these questions. And you have to think, Lord God, so when you feel the loneliness come up, when you feel, like saddened, or you feel like I should have, man, I should have, if I could have, would should have. If you were married before and you know that that one was like bad, or when you think about it now, it's like, wow, all the flags was there and I didn't listen. It's okay. Were you? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, not really, unless you're part of his flock. Okay, yeah, got it. Questions? I got it. Thank you, Shattered Christian. So yeah, so you have to think about, so if you already like had a bad thing that happened to you, and now it's that time again, Lord God, I don't want to make another mistake. I don't want to go into something without your leading, Lord. Because you said every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of lights, in whom is no variableness, no neither shadow of turning. Every good and perfect gift. So you have to think about every good and perfect gift. Father, I only want what you want. I only want what you want for my life. I only want you. I already talked to you, Father, about, even what my desires are. But Father, I only want what you want in my life. That's it. Okay. So every time you think about that, you just start acknowledging the issues and you start talking to God. And you just live your life. You live your life, you prepare yourself, and you're not desperate, but you're going to live your life, you're going to prepare yourself, you're going to do what you do, you're going to maintain your singleness, but you're going to wait on God, because if the other one was a bad one and you want what's right, you want the perfect will of God for your life. Perfect will of God. So it says, well wishes should well wishes abound in the society. So there's a lot of well wishes. Well wishers abound in society. So people wish you well. They wish you well in a society. But when people discover that you are up to the age of getting married, they will come up with all types of prescriptions and volunteer information that you did not request for. They may come to you saying, I know that you are quite good. I think I found someone that fits you. Anybody ever been through that before? Shout out, Christian. Anybody? You had somebody who said, I think I found somebody for you. It says, I know that you are quite good. I think I found someone that fits you. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to intrude into your privacy, but I'm doing this out of concern. Such people will go to any length in order to give you a link, but such a link may place you under bondage. The only thing you need is divine prescription. Human prescriptions will lead you astray. Let God be your guide. I want the perfect will of God for my life. Yes. Let God be your guide. See, man looks on the outward, but the Lord looks at the heart. Man looks on the outward, but the Lord looks on the heart. You seen it happen, Shavana? Uh-huh. So man looks on the outward. So all these well-wishers, and they want you to be married. I mean, hey, you want to be married yourself, right? You're waiting. And so there will be people who will know that you are single, and they know that you want to be married, or you were once married and maybe you divorced, or maybe you're a widow, or maybe, whatever has happened to you, which causes separation or causes singleness. And I don't want to say separation, because listen, if you are married, even if you're separated, you are still married, and you should not be trying to find somebody if you are still married. A judge has to approve your divorce. You are not divorced until you get that approval from the judge who approves your divorce. Okay. So you are still married. You don't want to bring confusion into your life by looking for somebody when you are still married, even though you may be separated or you may be going through the process of a divorce. But if you have not completed the process and the judge didn't give you a dissolution of marriage, you are still married. So you can't be looking around and bringing confusion into your life. Because if the Lord was to bring that person back to you that you had to separate for whatever reasons, and the Lord is bringing that person back to you, if you already seeing somebody, of course you're not going to tell them I want you back, because your mind is already, you've already had somebody else in your soul. Okay, so you're not going to try to work things out with the next person unless that person shows you how bad they are, and then you're going to, you start playing games. Okay, but if you are married, if you are married, were you married in the church? That's the question. Were you married in the church? If you are married, you are still married until you are divorced. Period. Should not be dating. Should not be seeing anybody until there has been a final dissolution of marriage from a judge. There are people who said that they were divorced because they thought they signed a piece of paper and they didn't know the process of a divorce. So they just said, "Oh, I thought you divorced me." And they went and married somebody else. They actually went and married somebody, and that was so illegal. It's illegal, and they can go to jail because you cannot marry somebody while you're married out here in the United States. That's for sure. Okay? So you really have to ask all these questions and look deep. I know people who've done that, and they said they thought that they were divorced because they had papers come to them. You got to go through the process. You got to go to the judge. There's a whole process for this. Okay? So if you're married and you're separated, you're still married even if you're separated. You should not be dating other people. You either try to work it out with your spouse while the separation time is here so you could think and they could think and come together, or when they say they really don't, you're done, it's over, you got a narcissist and they'll never work it out with you, never, they're going to war with you, you're done, it's gone, it's over. Well, you still got to wait until that whole thing is done, where you got your approval from the judge and you get your approval from God for this to be dissolved. Then that is the only time that you can, okay, Lord, send me who I'm supposed to have. The apostle that I was under, he got married. I think it was his third wife. And he said he was so tired. He asked the Lord, "Lord, have you seen my wife?" He was tired of looking. He said, "Enough is enough." He asked the Lord, "Lord, have you seen her?" Have you seen her? So these are things that you really had to consult God for. Consult God for. All right? So whether you're married in the church before witnesses, okay? That's why you have people marrying witnesses, and you've seen those kind of things take place where they're standing right at the altar of marriage, and they ask the question, is there anyone here who says that these two should not be married? And then here comes the wife saying, I disagree because I'm the wife, right? Then it's just a whole mess from there. All right, because it should never be. You have to make sure that you make some decisions. So this is 40 marriages that must not hold. And if people were to give you their story, and they were to tell you what happened in their life before, or how they got into these positions of marriage, how they said that I do without consulting God, that's what these things are for. That's what the teaching is for. You have to be a thinker before you go in. You have to be able to make decisions before you let your passion and your feelings take over. Okay? You have to know what you want. You have to have that decision in your mind made so that you're not manipulated by someone's emotions or by someone's affections being shown towards you. You have to know, okay, I don't want to be with an angry person, because the Bible talks about an angry person, and an angry person is always in a rage. I don't want to live with somebody like that. The Bible warns against it, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. We read in 2 Timothy chapter 3, we talked about the last days. You don't want anybody that falls in that category. So again, you have to consider, and I would say if you were in a marriage already, go get some therapy. Go talk to somebody. Work all that stuff out. Have you ever really dumped that stuff out with somebody and really talked about what was happening, even if you've been divorced for so many years? Have you really talked about what has happened to you, why you made that decision, and how it affected your life? And let the Lord heal you of that relationship. Let him heal. Let him really heal you from the relationship. Okay? Because you don't want to carry that baggage into another relationship. All right? So anyway, we are done. It is 10:07. I'm Apostle Hellena Horsley. This was marriage number 34. This was the prescription marriage. Next week, oh, this one is going to be interesting. This one is called the cinema marriage. I think I'll take this one. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'll see what happens on next week. This is going to be interesting. This is the cinema marriage. Oh, this is going to be real interesting. You want to be seen with high profile people in society. You know, they have things that are just contract marriages just for television, just for the game. So somebody's asking, can Christians marry 3 to 4 times over and over? Oh, 3 to 4 times over and over? What do you mean? One partner? I don't understand that. So you're asking, can Christians marry 3 to 4 times over and over? That's a whole lot. Man should have one wife, and the woman should be with her own husband. Marrying 3 to 4 times over and over? Are you talking about with the same person or multiple marriages? You know, when I started off earlier, I was talking about the children, and I was talking about how, oh boy, how blended families are affected. The children, foster care, adoptees, half siblings, step siblings, stepchildren, right? And I talked about dynamics of families, lots of confusion. You want to be in as much less of confusion as possible. There's a lot with if somebody's marrying 3 or 4 times, you got to see what's going on in here. What's happening in here? What is going on in here? Because people they can do a lot of things in these, especially in these times, but that's not biblically, biblically so. So let's see. How times can you remarry as a Christian? Count a number? I would hope that when you marry the first time, that would be it. I will hope that. But it should be one. It should be one. One times. No remarriage. Should be one. But if that spouse, if you needed to separate for a while and come back together, you should come back together. But to divorce and remarry, that will take some counseling, because I would have to ask the question, because here, this is just a blanket question. I would need to go into more. Because when you first marry, don't you marry because you want to be married? You want to say, I do. You want to be married. Why did you want to be married? So we're into trying to maintain people and their marriage, the current marriage that they're in. But to marry as many times as they want. Oh yeah. For him, that's him. He wrote a book. That was before he was actually a pastor. And that's a story. He wrote a book. The book is called Behold the Woman. It's called Behold the Woman. And the other one is called Steering Clear of the Circus. Steering Clear of the Circus. I'll have to get the name, but he's Apostle Wayne Wallace. He was the author of that book, and he had a lot of regrets. Now, all his reasons, I never got to sit down and ask him. When I was in his ministry, I was there for the last 4 years of his life. I was there in 2005, and he died in 2009. So I didn't get to really sit down and ask, just looking at his book, seeing what happened, but I wasn't there to know all of the years. You know, people grow, and so I was in his last 4 years of his life. He died. He died at the age of 56. I think it was 56 when he passed away. He was young. I wish I had interviewed him myself. If I did, I would have really had some questions. But that would have been very interesting. My foundational pastor only had one wife. One only. Only one. And the pastor that took his place, my foundational pastor, he had married twice. And he married twice. His wife was, I'm not sure what happened in their relationship, but I do know he married twice. And I knew he had some issues. Okay. The other pastor that replaced him married one time. I think they had over 50 years of marriage. Might have been like 53 years of marriage before he passed away. Oh, thank you, Shavana. Okay, so Shatter Christian, that book is called How to Steer Clear of a Bozo and Stay Away from the Circus. And that was by Apostle Wayne Wallace. If it's hard to find that book, there's a local bookstore in the city of was it Dominguez Hills that has the book. I believe they do have them there. But yeah, that's the name of the book. But yeah, no, he shouldn't have. I wish I had really sat down and talked to him about those kind of things. He is really teaching us about the deeper things of the Lord. His the ministry was called Deeper Revelations Incorporated. Mm-hmm. But he, like I said, he was sick when I got there. When I first met him, he wasn't sick. Not that I saw. And then when I actually went to visit that church to be there to continue in the fellowship, he was sick. Yeah, but he died. But I really wish I had the opportunity to ask him about his other family, the ones that he had before. I would really love to hear that. I wish I could ask him, but I can't. He's not even here. The other one is Behold the Woman, God's Gift to Men. God's Gift to Man. That's the other book. That one, and he wrote another book, The Proverbs of an Apostle. And he said in that book, that is the book that he wrote out of his pain, with dealing with the wife that he had. He had a lot of pain in that marriage. So I don't know what happened, but he said he had a lot of pain in the marriage, and his Proverbs of an Apostle, he wrote a lot of that. A lot of his sorrow was in that. Yeah, but I never asked the question. His wife was very strong. Darlene Wallace at the time. She's Darlene Wallace, and she was very, very committed. Very committed. I didn't think to ask because they looked like they were very committed. Very committed. And that's like not even it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to ask, even though if I wanted to know, it was in his book. Yeah. But yeah, the last 4 years of his life, God had dealt heavily with him. And it's all about at the end coming to the Lord at the end. It's really about, because where are you going to spend eternity, right? Where are you going to spend eternity? And I remember, and I'm glad we even talking about Apostle Wallace, but I remember at the end, the Lord had told him he had 4.5 years. The Lord said he was digging around, And he said, this tree, this has not grown. This has not grown yet. And he said he was going to cut it down, cutting down the ministry. And he asked the Lord to give him one more year. One more year. And that one more year had come. But yeah. Is his name Apostle, or did he cut? You know what? He was an actual apostle. He was Apostle Wayne Wallace, but he had his checks and his things changed with his name. He had it on. He had his name as that everywhere. Apostle Wayne Wallace. His name was Wayne D. Wallace, but he was able. He went to the bank and they put everything his name Apostle. But no, that wasn't his real name. But he was actually an apostle. He was ordained. He was ordained for that. He was really, really, really good, a dynamic teacher in the word. He really was. Amen. But anyway, I'm glad I got all the tapes. I'm glad I have everything that I need. I'm glad I had everything that I need from that man of God. But anyway, so God bless you all tonight. Thanks for coming in. I will be on again next week at 9:00. That's what I was trying to make the decision if I was going to come in. But know that we will only have 5 more left because there's 40 marriages that must not hold. And I'm kind of anticipating what things are going to be like. So I'm going to come in next week at 9:00, and we'll have our talk next week. Okay. So 40 marriages that must not hold. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your time. You're saying there are only 12 apostles. You got to read the word, because even Apostle Paul was called by Christ. He was an apostle of Christ afterwards. Okay. After God is the one, Jesus is the one who called him, told him he would be a witness. So even though he ordained the first 12, he was also, Paul, the apostle himself, was called by Christ. It's hard for you to kick against the pricks. And then afterwards, there were additional apostles even after that. Apostles of Christ. Apostles of Jesus Christ. You have apostles of Jesus Christ. Apostles of the Lamb. All right. So anyway, we'll see you all on next week. I'll be back Thursday Night Live at 9. Come join me. Maybe you'll be nice and full and we can all talk. Anyway, so God bless you. Take care. Thanks for joining me, Shattered Christians. I'm so glad that you were able to participate with us tonight. But anyway, we'll see you all on next week. God bless you, and we'll be back. All right. God bless you.